It's Thursday, June 11th, and time for your Barbados Today morning news update. The Caribbean Court of Justice delivers its ruling on the handling of a trade transaction related to import taxes on extra-regionally made cement. Yesterday, it upheld the decision of the Council for Trade and Economic Development to raise the tariff on other hydraulic cement imported into Barbados. Our Emmanuel Joseph has a full report.
The CCJ declared that Barbados, along with CARICOM, failed in their respective duties to consult beforehand with the importers Rockhard Cement Limited. The court's decision was given in the original jurisdiction matter of Rockhard Cement versus the State of Barbados and CARICOM, with the St. Lucie-based Arawak Cement Company Limited intervening. On June 17th last year, quoted, the organ of CARICOM responsible for altering or suspending the Common External Tariff or CET approved the application of Barbados to suspend the CET of 5% on other hydraulic cement in order to replace it with a tax of 35%. The full 7-member tribunal presided over by Justice Adrian Saunders said the suspension was authorized for a period of 2 years and not the 5 years requested. Rockhard imports into Barbados other hydraulic cement which is manufactured in Turkey. The regional panel of judges found that Rockhard Cement was not consulted or notified before the application to raise the tariff was made or granted, although both Barbados and quoted were aware of the impact the quoted decision would likely have had on that company. President of the court, Justice Adrian Saunders, said Rockhard had claimed that the decision to raise the tariff should be annulled because it had a legitimate expectation that Barbados would keep the import tax steady at the CET rate of 5%. But Justice Saunders said that because the consultation required for an application of this type was limited to obtaining information as to the impact of the proposed import tax increase, the court decided that the effect of the failure to consult did not call for annulment of the decision. The CCJ expressed dismay that CARICOM had failed to maintain an effective system of consultations at the national and regional levels as required by Article 26 of the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas. In response, Executive Chairman of Rockhard Cement Mark Maloney expressed delight at the outcome. Maloney said he was confident that in light of the judgment and taking into account the need for fair trade and a competitive environment, the government of Barbados will consider what needs to be done with the duties on cement, especially in view of the importance of the construction sector to the economy and the financial pressures that everyone is already under at this time. Neither Attorney General Dale Marshall nor the attorney for CARICOM, Dr. Carlita Bab Schaefer, could be reached for comment up to last night. Emmanuel Joseph for Barbados Today.
Outgoing chairman of the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association, Stephen Austin, puts forward a proposal for a provident fund for industry workers. He sounded the idea at the BHTA's annual general meeting yesterday. During his final report to members, Austin said the fund could benefit workers during challenging times.
If you really look at tourism, we really need to look at a possible a credit union. We're not a credit union for tourism. So if I brainstorming, I was the Tourism Workers Fund. I think that is something that will be critical towards assisting our people. It would be an emergency fund as well as a human resource development 50-50 type fund. Whether it comes out of the levies or as a new $1, $2 taken off of the rate later on when we start recovering. But we need something to help when there is a crisis. We would have never thought this would have happened. But if we had this fund, we've been able to supplement or assist our tourism workers during this extended period of no work, really.
Drivers will be able to pay online for license renewals by month end. Minister of Innovation, Science and Smart Technology, Senator Kay McCartney, made the announcement in the Senate during yesterday's debate on the Stamp Duty Amendment Bill 2020.
I am hoping that many of you will be smiling by the end of June, where you're able to pay for the renewal of your driver's licenses online. And we are looking forward again. Senator Boyce spoke about the fact that we have to do things in phases because we cannot digitize everything all at once. But rather than speak of all the other work that's going on, including in immigration, where we are currently digitizing over 200,000 records, again, looking to make it easier for you to do business with the Immigration Department. We are also working on an electronic document and records management system for the entire public service. And again, I'm hoping I'll put a smile on your face. We now have the test site up. We have some persons who are the test persons working in this new test environment. We expect certainly that in the first of those ministries, we will go live in 2 weeks, and then we will go from one ministry to the next, to the next, to the next.
At least one body representing public service vehicles is on board with government's proposed law to suspend the permits of habitual PSV drivers of public transport and road traffic laws after 3 strikes. President of the Alliance for Public Transport, Roy Raphael, believes the law should help weed out the bad apples from the industry.
I think there's some level of discipline that needs to come to the roads of Barbados, right? We understand basically that government needs to bring some order, but at the end of the day, with a 3-strike rule, I believe that we will have to do a lot of training out there to assist the owners in identifying the type of person that they are employing. Recently, we were appointed. We have been working closely with an HR consultant, right? Who are looking carefully at the type of persons that we employed out there. I suspect that when the rule come into operation, that some people that continue to flout the law, I believe that they will disappear in the sense that they will no longer work for us. But at the end of the day, I believe that order must be on the road, and both parties, both the PSP operator and the owners of them need to come together to ensure, right, that there are order on the road.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To news from the region, plans by the Bahamas government for a full reopening of the country on July 1 may be hampered by COVID-19 developments in the United States. Cleopatra Murphy of ZNS News reports.
Possible resurgence of COVID-19 in the U.S. could have lasting implications for the Bahamian economy. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, the Honorable Peter Turnquest, says there is growing concern that cases of the virus could spike in the U.S. as residents there hold mass demonstrations to protest the death of George Floyd. Turnquest says much of the economic recovery for the Bahamas depends on the U.S. travel and leisure market.
As it stands, we anticipate reopening the borders on July 1, and we are hoping that we will have a careful and slow and steady ramp up of the sector to bring that much needed economic relief.
Minister of Labor, Senator the Honorable Dion Folks, says unemployment in the country could be as much as 40%, with 55,000 Bahamians having applied for unemployment benefits since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Minister of Finance says reopening the economy would relieve much of the pressure that is now on social assistance programs and the public system that has been providing replacement income for Bahamians. COVID-19 has spurred talk of economic diversification, and Turnquest says he is eager about what will come.
And finally, on the international scene, the Pan American Health Organization says it is going to take a lot longer to stop the spread of COVID-19 in Latin America. More in this report from Al Jazeera.
Despite an easing of restrictions, Brazil remains the country worst affected by coronavirus in all of Latin America. While the worsening outbreak in Brazil is an extreme example, other Latin American countries are also struggling to contain the virus. Health officials say widespread inequality have made the crisis worse.
We know that Latin America is the most inequitable region in the world and also one of the most urbanized regions in the world. So we have big cities like Rio, Sao Paulo, Lima, in where they are surrounded by belt of poverty and inequities. So the same lockdown that was applied in Europe to a certain extent cannot be completely applied in Latin America and the Caribbean.
In Mexico, authorities say they expect the height of contagion to occur near the end of June. And despite the worsening health crisis, the government has begun a gradual reopening of the economy. Health workers say this is a worrying sign.
Obviously, everyone is worried to see that people are basically going about their normal lives. And being in the health sector, you know the consequences that will have. So we're hoping that this doesn't go on too long, but at the end of the day, we know what the consequences will be.
Another hard-hit country is Peru, which neared 200,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19 on Tuesday.
That's news. But for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.